To all indents entering Cluster 13, behave, or I'll have you fucking recycled.
You have shown an aptitude for applying lethal solutions to conflicted situations. We wish to test your abilities by giving you a special assignment. Success, and you'll be given a chance at earning your freedom.
The Ascent is a 4-player cyberpunk-themed twin-stick looter shooter that has promised innovation in the genre, featuring unique guns and abilities, heaps of different enemies, a massive world to explore, and a heading-to-work simulator. The Ascent looked like it could be a great addition to the currently awful roster of microtransaction-filled garbage looter shooters we have today. So how did it go? I'm going to talk about the game, give my own opinions on what worked and what didn't in this episode of the Aussie Perspective. Let's begin. First up, this is a looter shooter, which means the most important aspect is its combat. And honestly, it's safe to say that it succeeded greatly in this part. The combat in the Ascent is a blast to play through. There are heaps of different guns, abilities, and other powers called augments and modules to pick and choose from. Along the way, you level up and need to carefully pick and choose your skills that best fit the build you want to go for. This is majorly important in the early game. You are pretty limited in your ability to pick and choose, so careful planning is an absolute must. It is fun to try and pick what is best for yourself, and you will always feel like you're sacrificing something. I like this since it means that I have things to work towards and I can play around my character's weaknesses and play towards their strengths. On top of that, the Ascent adds a new level of verticality that I've not seen in a game like this before. You can crouch and then shoot over what you're crouched behind, shoot up towards enemies on higher platforms than you, or you can crouch down and shoot enemies beneath you. It really adds a lot to what is otherwise normally just a case of hide behind a thing in other games that are similar to this. It really adds to your overall experience. Ducking behind cover, quickly dodging from one point to another, or having to root your enemies out of their own cover just adds new dimensions to what probably would have been an otherwise dull and dry experience. There were countless times where I managed to outskill the AI and dodge and duck to massacre them from behind. This isn't to say it's a one-sided affair, however. The AI is also pretty damn good at utilizing these systems on their own and will get you. Lunatics with swords will charge your cover, while snipers and RPG guerrillas will attack you from afar. It's a real blast to do. The cover system seems to have been really fleshed out, and I don't think I could enjoy another game like this if it didn't have this feature. Now, as I said, there are a lot of guns and abilities to choose from, and there are a few ways to customize all of these. First off, you get to pick between your own 2 different guns, and you aren't limited in any combination you want to choose. Want 2 RPGs? Go for it. Want too many guns? Even better. There is also your tactical, which is basically this game's version of an ultimate, which, in my experience at least, usually took the form of a grenade or a deployable buff, such as a heal or turret. These are mostly fine, a few I have found to be far better than the rest, with some leaving you feeling impotent beyond belief, such as this mech that I found that I was super excited for. Next comes your augments and modules, so these are the real meat of your character and really define how you play. Modules are passive bonus effects, some greatly improve your dodge, while others may improve your healing. Again, there is this case of feeling that there is only 1 or 2 correct choices. Balancing the issues are a common theme in this game. I'll say that now so I don't need to keep repeating myself. Now for augments. These were probably my favourite part of the build making process. There are plenty of augments to choose from and they all do a heap of different stuff. My personal favourites were the life transfer that lets you steal health from enemies that you use it on, and hydro focus, which pauses time around you, making it impossible to be hit with the AI's hyper-tracking bullets of energy stupidness. Oh, I forgot to mention the enemies in this game, and personally to me, they are great. I found that there are a heap of different enemies, and none of them felt like that they were just carbon copies of the others. I grew to fear certain models and attack them like my life depended on it, because it did. You never feel like you're just rinse and repeating through the same enemies constantly. Different combos are thrown at you in different areas, and some areas have unique enemies altogether. I love that, and the devs deserve praise for putting in the extra effort to make it interesting. Now, all of these aspects combine to make a very solid base of gameplay. It is great fun, it is challenging, it is very rarely, if at all, boring, and it is a great big bright spot of the game. I have one slight issue with it though, and I'll talk about that now. That issue is with the set pieces. I'm talking those moments where it is abundantly clear that something big is about to happen and is always one of 2 options. It could be a boss, which is fantastic. None of the bosses repeat and they're pretty cool, new and challenging when they do show up. The other option, however, that is far more common, is a 2-minute and 45-second long wave defense mission. This happens far too much in this game. Essentially, you walk up to the computer terminal, plug in the thingamajig, wait for it to upload to the doodad, then blow up the doohickey. Only problem is that the game recycles this multiple times, and it is so abundantly clear when doing so. It is just 2 minutes and 45 seconds of 5 enemies spawning every 10 to 15 seconds, and that is it. I didn't mind it the first time since it added some urgency. It was just a bit disappointing to see the finale of some missions turn into this. You don't get access to healing while doing it, and it just isn't too fun. I was especially taken aback when the biggest missions in the game included this rather than an actual boss or something else. More creativity or more pizzazz next time, please. I guarantee you that this is going to be a 3 minute or 2 minutes and 45 seconds long wave defense or some shit.
Hey, you got multiple red-eye slavery killers converging on your paws. Looks like a volatile mix of OV flatliners and CGT.
Alright, let's talk about the difficulty of this game, and to be honest, this game is plenty difficult, and it is satisfyingly so. I often found myself struggling to beat areas. I always found myself a way to overcome this, but one time I had to commit cardinal sin and put the game on the easiest difficulty for one of those wave defense missions. I forced myself to play on hard from that point, and while I do not regret doing so, since the challenge was great fun, I found myself whinging quite a lot. Fuck! It's just fucked. Like, there's nothing I can do. Proper level for it. What's this mission called? There's a health pack. I could just get the health pack. No. Fuck! Quick note, by the way, difficulty doesn't seem to be available in the Game Pass version. Not sure why, it might get fixed or patched, but at the time of release, it was not in the game. Now, one of the more unique aspects to this game is the camera. The camera follows you around and changes its view, direction, and rotation as you explore and see different parts of the map. This, to me, is a really innovative way of doing this style of game, and it let the developers change things up a little. Rather than being stuck in the same exact view for the entire game, you get to see different perspectives and arguably see more. I know a lot of people have had issues with this though. Sometimes the camera refuses to show you everything you want to see. There are even points in a boss battle where I wasn't able to see the bastard since the camera was just too zoomed in on my character to let me see what's coming at me. I had to rely on the minimap instead. This didn't faze me too much, and I greatly prefer the dynamic camera over the camera of still boringness. It isn't perfect, but I actually like it. Next up we have the story. Now the story for me was hard to describe. On one hand, it had some really cool characters, had some really cool twists, and some really cool, oh damn, moments, but on the other hand, it felt like a child was given the script and told to make it better. There are just a few moments where you think to yourself, why? What purpose does this serve, or why is this here? There was a lot of build up across multiple missions with interesting dialogue between characters, with relationship building and plot development followed by characters just being shoved in because why not? Overall, I enjoyed the story, but it could have been a banger without all the weird bits. I'm going to shoehorn this bit in here because I don't know where else to put it, but there is a big problem with the side quests in the game currently. At the moment, you can accept a side quest, be at the recommended level of the side quest, and even go to the area and fight way through and clear all the enemies from the side quest, but then not be able to complete it. The reason being is because you haven't unlocked a specific story mission yet, or you haven't met a specific character yet. The game doesn't tell you this, however, and if it does a great job of damn well hiding it. This drove me nuts when playing. Oh, that's annoying! So you can get the quest before you do the main quest that unlocks this area. Despite the fact that you get access to this area well before you do that main quest, you can go in here, do everything, but until you finish that main quest, this bag that I just picked up doesn't actually register as a quest bag. That is so annoying. Okay, now for the universe in which you play in, and let me tell you, the world is impressive. You know that common trope in games where you get told you're in an epic sized city, yet when you actually enter there's like 5 houses and a dog named Fenton? Well, this game blows that away. The world is full of detail down to every corner, area, room, biome and sewer, and it really helps with your immersion. You really do feel like you're in a corporate megacity where most of the population is a slave. There is a fair bit of lore built into the story, and the game always tells you a lot about where you are and what you are doing if you want to find it. I really like how the story and the world fit together. You feel like you're an indentured slave fighting for your right for independence, going around trying to learn what the fuck happened to your city and then trying to carve out your own little domain's sphere of influence. It feels real. I felt it anyway.
Art thou feeling it now, Mr. Krabs?
This takes me to the map and the size. This game is massive for this style of game. A lot of these games simply include a very set path between missions or simply teleport you there themselves. In this game's case though, you have a gigantic world you can explore and it can take ages to travel between places if you don't utilize your fast travel options efficiently. This is great. Theoretically, there is a lot to explore, a lot to do, and theoretically encourages some Skyrim style gameplay. The problem is though that it doesn't. The side quests are either uninspired or literally impossible to finish, and while there are points all over the map showing loot or interesting things to see and do, most of these simply involve chugging through enemies until you pick up a component. There just isn't enough meat in it to justify having to walk and travel massive distances. There are fast travel options in the form of catching the train or getting a taxi, but these are often not available or inaccurate, leading you to some frustratingly unavoidable walking simulator moments. Like, all I'm doing is going from one level to another, and I'm walking, and I'm walking, and I'm walking, and I'm walking. Hey. Like, I have to go catch the train. I'm a fucking homicidal maniac who works as a special ops force for some evil corporation, yet I have to catch the train to work? Now, because I can't help but whinge about things, the rest of the parts leading up to my final thoughts are going to be just straight up negative. Here we go. The map in this game is super unique, includes all of your unlocked areas in one view, shows multiple layers, buildings, and more, and it sucks. The map is just downright difficult to read. Oftentimes it is inaccurate based on what level of zoom you have, and just leads to frustration when trying to navigate. I forced myself to understand the map as I slowly went throughout the game, and I appreciate the effort the devs put into it, but I have heard nothing but complaints from people about it since I started the game, and considering this map is so huge, a good map would have made the experience much nicer. Next is the end game. There isn't any. At the end of the game, your choices are to complete side quests, explore, or help a friend throughout tough missions. There are no endgame specific things to do, no towers to ascend or missions, no new game plus, nothing. Adding to the lack of endgame is the fact that loot and gear in this game is not based on stats. You can find better statted pieces of armor and better guns, but you don't need to worry about something having a few percentage points higher damage than another gun. I like this since I hate endlessly grinding, but it does compile on the lack of things to do in the endgame. Once you feel strong and nothing challenges you anymore, there is no need to go out and look for shit. My RPG I got and fully upgraded when I was level 15 still does all I need it to do. I have no desire to go out and find new stuff since nothing challenges me anymore. This is quite a drag. I would have expected at least something to do in the endgame to keep the player base around. I can't play with others, I'll get to why in a moment. I don't really want to needlessly explore for loot and gear since I have no need for it, and the side quests haven't got much pull on me either. Okay, time to talk about what is easily the biggest flaw of this game. The straw that broke the camel's back. The final nail in the coffin, if you will, and that is the bugs. There is an unbelievable amount of bugs in this game. It is genuinely astounding. Todd, the god himself, would look at the Ascent and think, damn, are they trying to steal our crown?
16 times the
bugs.
Multiplayer crashes, inventory deletes, crashing in general, ultra wide glitch, DirectX 12 broken, people with 3090s maxing out at 3 FPS. The list goes on and on and on and on. I'm not sure what beta or Q&A testing the developers did, but it was not good enough. These bugs are at their peak during multiplayer as well, leaving it all but unplayable. A friend of mine had his game save entirely corrupted and had to restart due to having the audacity to play with his friends. Another mate of mine joined my lobby only to discover that his favourite augment had been deleted on him. This is only the start as well. I had to do a mission solo simply because my friends and I simply crashed at the same point in the story when beating a specific enemy. This is entirely inexcusable. It seems that in modern gaming, a million excuses can be invented for someone making a buggy and broken game, but quite frankly, I am sick to death of it. This game has released in a state that is borderline unplayable. Solo has a lot less problems, but man, a co-op looter shooter should be playable multiplayer, and this just isn't.
Well, I found the first bug.
What's that?
I've not been that. I can't see my guns or whether my abilities are up.
Oh, nice. Some fun bugs to have. Now, I know that I have probably said more negatives than positives. The truth is though that I genuinely did enjoy the experience I got. I don't think I wasted my money. It is a fun game and the developers do deserve credit for that. I find the bugs aggravating and inexcusable, but I am sure that they will make it their priority to fix them. As for recommendations and final thoughts though, I would give this game an uninspired 6 out of 10. The Ascent offers you some truly challenging gameplay, some cool set pieces, an intriguing enough story, and the rough 10 to 20 hours you get out of it will be looked back on fondly. The fact that there are no microtransactions is also a massive win. You get the game you pay for. It just feels like this game was rushed in its last couple of stages of development. The fact that my complaints about the story almost exclusively happen in the last couple of missions might add to this point. I really wish the developers had taken their time, possibly delayed the game even though that's bad, to really fix a lot of the bugs. I guess the saying goes that a delayed game can always be salvaged. A broken game will forever be tarnished. Now, as for a recommendation, if you're interested in the game, which I do believe you should be, I would say wait for a patch or wait for a sale and get the game then. The game, I would say, is worth it at its price of 40 Australian dollars, but definitely not until its bugs have been fixed. They are not Cyberpunk 2077 level, that is for sure, but they do take away from the experience, especially considering that this is a multiplayer game. It needs to be patched before it is playable again. The game, however, deserves to be played, loved, and experienced. It has a lot of innovation, the cover system is truly unique, and I really think that you can get a lot of enjoyment out of it. That is it for this episode though. Thank you for watching the Aussie Perspective. My name has been Cameron. Now, as usual, I'm going to put some links to my socials down below. If you could follow me on Twitter and or Twitch, that would be great. I'm going to be streaming the games that I'm going to be making a review out of every Monday, Tuesday, and Friday, Australian time. It's on my Twitch profile, you can see it there. But yeah, this game has been pretty fun. I did enjoy the experience. It's just a shame that it had so many bugs that took away from the experience. Now, thank you for watching. The next game up will be Death Trash. If you don't know what that is, either check it out on Steam, I'll link that down below as well, or check out my August video games video. I really think that that's a cool video, and considering I deleted every video on my channel, I could use the views. Thank you for watching. Aussie Perspective out.